Law Talk with Nick Maruchak, thanks to MKI Legal, your trusted employment and family lawyers.
I fought the law and the law won. I fought the law and the law won.
Okay, let's get into Law Talk. Good morning to Nick Maruchak from MKI Legal. How are you?
Good morning, Gary. I am great.
You're well. I wonder if they should have I don't know, maybe lawyers at the Olympics would be good.
Oh, yeah.
Who could shout down an argument quicker than anyone else to win a gold medal?
Oh, yeah, the lawyers at the Olympics, quite exciting to watch, I think.
They'd need more wine on supply in the Olympic Village, that's for sure. All right, 133 882. We're talking all sorts of legal issues with Nick Maruchak. If you'd like to get involved or you'd like some assistance, feel free to give us a bell right now and we'll get you on the lines. We're going to go straight to Dave, who's got a situation, Nick. Now, this could be tricky for you, but
Yes.
this is something that's happened in Europe. Good morning, Dave.
G'day, guys. How you going?
Yeah, good.
Probably more hilarious than anything else.
Go on.
In 2018, I hired a car in Milan, and allegedly I got caught doing 58 in a 50 zone.
Right.
Yep.
And a year later, they sent me a notification on it for a €40 fine. I ignored it. A year later, they sent me another letter saying that they're going to put it in the hands of a debt collection agency, which I ignored.
What?
And 4 years later, they sent me another letter. I'm not going to open it. I'm just thinking of sending it back to them. Where do I stand with this? I mean, what can they actually do to me? They extradite me for terrorism or something?
Yeah, so
It's not like, don't get me wrong. I mean, speed limits are there to be there, but the way they drive over there, the speed limits seem to be more of a suggestion rather than an actual legal thing. But anyway.
Fair point. Come on. Should Dave cough up?
Well, so there is basically something in WA. We have this legislation called Foreign Judgments Act, right? So
Right.
if you have a judgment against you in another country, so what they have to do is they have to go to court here. They have to get the judgment registered here in the court, and then they can enforce it here, right? So this overseas, where was it? Sorry, was it?
Milan.
Milan, yes. Okay,
Milan.
in Milan. So the Milan has no jurisdiction here. They have to go through a pretty tedious process to enforce it. And what's the fine again, sorry?
€40, wasn't it?
Wow.
Well, it was originally €40, yeah. But the thing was, I wasn't the only person driving the vehicle. I don't know who was driving. Two of them I can't get in touch with. And because it was a year later, I've got no idea who was actually driving,
Yeah.
whether it was me or someone else.
Yeah, and this was actually like a fine, a proper fine under there.
From the was it from the hire car company or the authorities?
Yeah.
No, it was from the authority, yeah.
Okay, the authorities,
I
yeah.
might have broke out.
The Carbonari.
Yeah, because the hire car companies, if it's a hire car company thing, these things you can't enforce it after 6 years, right? But if it's from the authorities, there potentially may not be a deadline. So I would say it's going to be too much effort for them to go through and enforce it in our system because they can't just, they have no jurisdiction here. They have to go through the court to get approval. It seems way too hard. So they'll send debt collectors. They'll send a few letters at scary debt collectors.
I thought you said they were going to send the debt collectors.
No. They'll send a debt collector letter. They can't send it to your house.
Yeah, como está? Mate, they send the debt collectors, I'd pay up if I were you, mate. Those Italians don't muck around.
And they can't do that. ASIC actually regulates debt collectors and they can't come to your house,
Okay.
by the way. So,
right.
So I would say, again, it's always like, it's not nice to say that, but I would say ignore it. It's probably, it's just too hard. It's not worth them going to the trouble to enforce that fine. I think it makes sense to send a few letters from a debt collector because debt collectors,
Worth a try.
yeah, and they probably do it like a success fee. They'll probably do a whole bunch, send out hundreds, and they might get a few wins.
There you go.
But
going to the next step, the next level that's required, you'd be very surprised if a foreign authority would try that.
Yeah.
Okay, not serious enough. All right.
getting a letter from a lawyer,
Dave?
maybe, but yeah.
All right, Dave, there you go. I mean,
Not scared
keep
of
it as a
but same thing
souvenir.
with
Hey, Dave, before you go, mate, remember, Luca Brazzi sleeps with the fishes, all right? That's all I'm going to say to you. Now then, Lisa. What's up, Lisa? How can we help?
Oh, morning, Gary. Morning, Nick. He should pay him back in 5-cent pieces. Nick, I'm calling on behalf of some friends of mine they've got their wills written out, but unfortunately, my friend's husband hasn't got the ability to write anymore. He's lost feeling in his hands and his feet, so he's been bedridden for a while, and she's wondering what does she need to do about getting his will signed?
Yes, there is a process for this. Okay, so if someone can't speak English, there is and it speaks a foreign language, you can do that. And if someone, so he cannot write himself, is that right? He cannot.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
But he can read, and he can read.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, he's still got it upstairs. He hasn't lost that. He's pretty sharp.
Right.
Okay, so he's got mental capacity, and he still can see, and he still can read, right? It's just that he can't write it himself. That's fine, right? So you can basically instruct someone else, a lawyer or another person, to write the will on his behalf, because you don't have to write your own will. And then the problem is signing it, right? So is he able to sign at all?
No,
Okay.
he can't hold a pen.
Jeez.
So this can be done, right? So it's because you can have something like this definitely can be done. I'm just trying to think of the exact law. It can definitely be done. It's just that I think that one way of doing it, and I'll probably just grab your details and I'll tell you the exact way.
Do you nominate someone like legally or not?
Legally, maybe someone can sign on your behalf potentially, and because you can have an informal will. You can have a will if you record a video and say, this is my last will and testament. Right. That can go through probate, right? So you'll just get two witnesses there. You'll nominate someone to sign on his behalf. You'll have potentially an affidavit. You have some witnesses there to say, yes, he definitely read it. He definitely approved it. He definitely gave authority to sign. You'll document all that. That's the way I'm thinking. But
you're better off having I don't know. And is there an office that you'd ring and say, this is the situation, what do I need to make this a legally binding will on behalf of this person? Is it that there would have to be a lawyer present or someone in a position to be one of those people that can countersign that as well? I mean, I'm trying. Is there an office? Like, is it the?
Oh, there's no real official office.
Okay.
It's all you need is two witnesses present when the person signs the will, right? But another person can sign on their behalf. That is my understanding, and I'll just check.
All right, no, you check it.
Because it's quite important.
We'll double check before we give you any bad advice. But it's a sticky one, but we'll get to the bottom of it. Keep listening, or we'll call you back off air. But it's a good question. Claire's there. What about this one? It's in relation to probate. G'day, Claire.
Hi, how you going? If somebody passes away and they have got, say, 23 grand in the bank, that's it, no property, do you have to do probate?
Probably not. So what you do is you call the bank up, and usually banks will have a limit on when you need probate. So some of the banks around $50,000, right? So if you're under $50,000, the bank will send you a form, you fill that form out, and they'll release it to the next of kin. So, and the banks will also ask for something called an indemnity probably in that form to say, look, if you've lied to us, if you've stolen this money, you have to indemnify us, which means that you have to pay for all their legal fees, and that's the protection they get. So, so you'll sign a stat dec with the bank, send it to the bank, and the bank will release it. So, should
be fine.
Yep, should be fine. Every bank has a different level. Some banks are 50, some banks 75 grand. Just depends.
All right, there you go, Claire. Hopefully that helps you. 1338 882. If you'd like to speak with Nick Maruchak from MKI Legal, we'll check out that issue about signing, and we'll be back in a sec. All right, now I don't mind this legal advice, Nick. This is from Dan on the text line in relation to our person who got the ticket from Milan. As to whether or not he should pay up. I don't mind this. This is kind of like Better Call Saul sort of legal advice. Yeah. Why doesn't he just put not at this address, return to sender, and chuck it back in the post box?
That is a great idea. You know what I mean? That's brilliant legal advice.
Brilliant legal advice. Thank you, Saul, for those that like the show. Okay, now we just did have a quick look in relation to the signing. So if someone can't physically sign a will.
Yep. So the Wills Act basically says has been in writing and is signed by the person, or is signed in his or her name by someone other person in their present by their direction, right? So in such a place on the will that is apparent on the face of the will that the testator intended to give effect to the signature. So, and the testator makes or acknowledges the signature in the presence of at least two witnesses. Definitely can do it, right? You just got to write on the will saying this person signed on my behalf. He's acknowledged it. The witnesses have, the witnesses saw the testator, the person who created the will, acknowledge the signature. So you just have to, you can't just sign a standard template will. You just want to basically, I would probably go to a lawyer for that because a lawyer would put the right wording on the document to make it clear when that person passes away and it goes to probate. In the probate's office, they check the will. They will have all of the information there that says yes.
So that no one can question the legitimacy of it. Okay, all right, there you go. So there is a way. Okay, let's go on. David's there. Hello, David.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. You've got a council issue.
Yeah, council issue. I built a house 30 years ago in Rockingham, and just the other day received a letter from them referring to ground vegetation. We haven't got grass verge or anything. We put a ground vegetation down to the curb. Mm-hmm. I got a letter the other day saying where there's no public footpath provided either side of the road, an area of 2 metres wide extending from the back of the curb must be maintained as lawn, etc. And now I've got to do all that, and that's over 60 metres all around on the council property. And I've got to put it in and maintain it. Because there's no pedestrian footpath either side.
So is it like what have you got there at the moment? Is it like native stuff or what's growing there?
Just ground vegetation, very low,
and quite nice to look at.
Oh yeah. People have walked past and said, "What a beautiful garden you have." Yeah,
right. But you got to clear it and basically turn it into lawn.
Yes, or wood chips or. So pedestrians can walk on it, and I have to maintain it.
Wow.
Go on, Nick. What do you think?
So this is so you got a letter from the council telling you have to do this. So it's probably under the Rockingham Council regulations there. It's probably correct. I have to look at the council regulations. Is there on the letter? There probably should be something where you might be able to do an internal dispute if you think it's a bit too onerous. And so have a look there to see, or call them up and go, look, I'm not really happy about this. Who can I appeal this decision? And then, so you do an internal review to see if you can convince them to maybe
you can
change your
do
mind.
it.
Yeah.
Hey, David, on that issue, I mean, mine wasn't quite like yours, but I remember a situation in our street and our area where on the verge, if you like, so the verge that, of course, you know, the we're supposed to maintain, I had a trailer, you know, just a normal box trailer, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we got told that, you know, you can't have a trailer on the verge anymore, even though, and I'm not joking, it was not a problem for traffic or blocking any vision or anything. It just wasn't. But on that one, I did figure out that I could ask the council to review that bylaw.
Yeah.
And they did, and they actually changed it as a result because they had to go at me for having a trailer on a verge. Whereas I drove around and could see caravans and boats and everything and knocked on doors and said, have you received a notice in the mail about your boat? No. So I was able to get it reviewed. Wonderful. It might be worth doing, mate.
And then the other option is Ombudsman of Western Australia. So that's where you go when you're unhappy about council administrative decisions. You can go Ombudsman of WA is an external process after you've done the internal complaint.
Yeah. So find your councillor, go to your councillor and ask them to do, if they can look at asking for a review of this particular bylaw.
Go to the council first, try that, try your technique, and if no luck, Ombudsman of WA. I reckon, try and fight it. It's probably, try and get them to reverse it and do the best you can. And if you can't, then I'll probably just chat to a lawyer about it. But it's probably stands.
But if you're going to have to clear it, make sure you do it as cheaply as possible. You should. I mean, that's bizarre. I would have thought the council, if you cleared it, David, I would have thought the council, I know in some areas they come around and actually put down the wood chip or whatever is required. But, that's an interesting one, David. Thanks for that. Robert's there. Another question Will. G'day, Robert.
Yes, just a question. My son's sole beneficiary in my will. Do I have to nominate him as the executor as well?
You should. Yeah, you have to put on a will who the executor it is, because and if your will is still valid if you don't have an executor, but you just have to go through a slightly different process. It's easier if you have a will that says this person is my executor, and then also put a backup executor. So if this person can't do it, I'll nominate a backup executor. And then you have this. These are the beneficiaries. But if you have a will without an executor, you have to go through another process called letters of administration with will annexed. Where if you have an executor, you go through straightforward probate. You will still get through, and your son would likely be appointed as the executor going through that process. But it's just easier to have a proper will that says executor this person, beneficiary this person. And that could be the same person.
All right, there you go. And that answers that question. Hey, just quickly before we do finish up, because you know last week when we were talking about the issue around being in certain car parks that were privately operated and managed and policed, if you like, and you get a parking ticket and you had a view, and it's been shared with me before, that in those sorts of situations, it's not a council one or it's not a government one, that you probably are within your rights just to sort of put it in the drawer and forget about it. Now, then I said to you, but I did that, and then all of a sudden I'm receiving in the mail actual threatening letters about that parking ticket that hadn't been paid. And we were trying to figure out, well, how did they get my address? What do you say to that?
So I went and investigated this. I went to the Department of Transport. I spoke to them, and they were very kind, and they revealed how like places like Wilson Parkings and other private operators get your address. They have to go to court, so you can go to the Supreme Court. If you don't know details of a potential defendant to a claim, or you need more information about a potential claim, you do something called a pre-action discovery. So you lodge an application with a court, and you go and you get a court order against the Department of Transport telling them to give you the details of this person so you can start legal proceedings against them. So they get a special court order. It's quite involved. My guess is they would do this in bulk, right? They wouldn't have spent all this money just on you, Gary, right? Good. They would have a whole list of hundreds of people. They'll probably do it every 3 months, every 6 months, and they'll just get a court order, and there'll be a schedule attached with everyone's names. They'll send it to Department of Transport, and then Department of Transport legally has to provide it. So there is a process. Any of your listeners, if you don't know if you get someone's rego number, and you can't get their address and you want to sue them, you can go and you can go do that too. And get the details.
It can't be just a frivolous request. Hey, I just want to know who owns that car.
No, you have to have a court claim. You have to prove to the court that you've tried to find their details and you couldn't, and you've got a claim. Right. So, and if you can prove that, it's a pretty simple application. You sign an affidavit, you'll get it. Right. So there is a process there to.
That's how they do it.
Yeah.
All right. It wasn't as though they were following me with private investigators or anything like that.
Yeah. Or Department of Transport doesn't give them a free line, where they can go in and just email someone and get the details. No. So it's good. Department of Transport has doesn't give it away willy-nilly.
All right. Okay. Hey, mate, thanks very much for coming in today, Nick. We've run out of time. Appreciate it. It's 4 minutes to 11.